with Jesus. We are ready now. We are ready for every tomorrow that can come. And we know that every day that has passed has been taken care of him by him. It is just a wonderful faith experience to be ready. And then the final word that comes to play is the end. When we are ready in Christ now, we are ready for the end whenever it comes, by death or by any other means. So the warning now is to be ready by faith in Christ Jesus now. That's it, Dave. Now is the accepted time.
Thank you, Dr. Mark. We did last week. I think there's a challenge for me. I was between Panama and the Dominican Republic, so I think there's a time mix up. If I can recall, I think Panama was an hour behind. I think and the Dominican Republic is an hour ahead. I don't remember, but I think I'd already landed from DR into Panama. So there was some mix up, but they did. I know they called me, and so the show did come on, and it was a bit late. But I got really confused with the time because when I went into Panama, I was an hour behind. I mean, into Dominican, I don't remember. Dominican, I think, was an hour ahead, and Panama is an hour behind. So I got, but nevertheless, I agree with you. Now is the time. We're not going to run from that. You believe that. I believe that. You're not out there all by yourself. And maybe others can share their view. And so before I go any further, my co-host, I see she's not on. Professor Major is not on. Wow. Okay. So I just want to say, my guest, I was recommended by Elder Curtis Bryant that this gentleman, I'd be a part of a program. He has a podcast in Canada and around the world, internationally. And my name came up as one he should interview. And so as a result of it, I reached out to this gentleman and we had a conversation. And I said to him, well, I'd like to invite you to be a part of my program as soon as Sunday coming. And I will be a part of his program. That's at 7 p.m. on, I think it's the 17th or the 18th, if I'm correct. But it's in my diary. And it'll be 7 p.m. in the night or evening. So I will send out the link to you. Those of you will put it on Facebook to join. And I see my good friend, Brother Mike Moss, just sign in. And just to let you know, we will start the program at the Boys and Girls School the second week in September. And so we have a program where we work along with boys and girls who has been sentenced by the courts. But nevertheless, so for my guests, I want to welcome you. I can just say, my brother, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little about who you are, and then you can go straight into the program. I will, as a matter of fact, allow my guests to ask you questions. I'll allow them to ask you some questions. And so all I can pronounce is SIVAM, Sivam. Welcome, sir, to the Bahamas.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great to be here, and thank you very much. It's amazing to connect with everyone. Thank you, David, and thank you, Mr. Curtis Brian. Because of him, we are connected here. It's everything is connection, human connection, and Alan, Dr. Leslie, and Mike, everyone. Thanks a lot. And my name is Sivam Velayudham, and I am actually, as he said, I'm in Canada, London, Ontario, Canada, and myself, I am originally from Sri Lanka, and we started this organization, Voice of Men 360, back in 2020 during a pandemic. So I had the influence. I had a great opportunity to meet Mr. Dr. Jerome Pluxing back in 2018 when we had a International Men's Day gala here, and then I had a quick chat, and then I started working with him, and then yeah, and by August 2020, we officially registered this organization, and we have been doing a lot of works, especially the podcast. We have done over, I would say, 650 or nearly 700 episode on various topics, including men's mental health, bullying, domestic violence, anything you name it, human trafficking, everything. So we touched up suicide and a lot of areas. And of course, I am still learning, and I am very, very new to this concept. And as an ethnic man, it's very hard to see how many men are not sharing, and there's not enough space to uh, for them to come out and share. So we are going to talk about that later on. But thanks a lot. Yeah.
No problem. So you can go straight into talking about your program. I have persons on. I know they would want to ask some questions because they want to know Men's 360. How did the name came about? Who you all about? What do you do? How can the program be a benefit? And we can go on and on. So tell us a little about the program, and then I'll have my guests. And interestingly, actually, wow, just basically men on. I hope the women didn't stay off the show because they saw men's health, men's mental health. But anyway, so just tell us about it, and I'm sure they'll ask some questions.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. And we have been doing this podcast called Open Up. So simply, this name came up. I was thinking a couple of names, and then men never open up as we can openly agree. And so I thought, you know what, simply let's have it open up. And then we have been doing since 2020, and our guests are from all over the world. It's really heartbreaking, some of the stories, and a lot of learning, a lot of stories people are sharing. And that's here on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can go up to, I would say, 30, 40 minutes, sometimes 1 hour, depends on the flow. Anyone interested, willing to share your life journey, absolutely, you are more than welcome to share. There are no limitations with the age, nationality, or gender, or ethnic groups. All walks of life can share, because every one of us have um, stories, experiences to share. Absolutely, you are more than welcome to connect with us. Probably we will be sharing the contact details later on. That's one. And then we are working with our fellow communities, indigenous communities here in Canada. And we have been doing other projects, and then we are working with universities and colleges. Yeah, we are reaching out to organizations and private practices, especially individuals who are professionals, people like Alan. There are other individuals, organizations around the world. We want to reach out to them as much as possible, and create awareness about men's issues. Our three areas is, I would say, awareness, advocacy, and support. We have been running a men's mental peer support group meeting monthly, second Saturday of every month from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time through Zoom, no recordings. So anyone can join, absolutely, men. And you can share any issues going on, and of course you can support other men, other fellow men. There are other things that we have been looking into, some projects on the current. Yeah, any questions, anything? Absolutely, we are on any channel, any platforms, you can name it, YouTube, Voice of Men 360, Facebook, we do have page and a group, Voice of Men 360, and even I'm doing in my Tamil language another podcast in the morning, 8 a.m. So that's another one we have done over, I would say, like 250, 260 episodes. So we are working on the larger scale. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to welcome my coach, Jackie Gardner. Welcome, ma'am. You like me as a global traveler yourself. It's good to see you, good to hear from you. And so I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Jackie Gardner. She'll direct and we'll open it up for the questions. Welcome, Jackie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so very much. I had a challenge getting on. I heard these majestic, that's how it sounds through my system, voices making a clarion call in terms of a man. I missed some of it. So I hope I don't be repetitious, but welcome to the show, Transforming Lives. And based on the bit that I caught, sounds like you're doing some transformative work. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And so
Absolutely.
So I heard a little bit about your work. I don't want to repeat the question, but what I want to know, I noticed that you are international. So either one or both of you can answer the question. From where you sit, what is the number one issue that you think man like is on a man's heart at this moment? What is the number one issue?
Can I go first?
Go right ahead.
All right, thank you. So I would say, even I'm not an expert, but I can say, even if today's topic is men, we need you. So the most number one bothering or devastating situation is that the ratio of suicide, men's suicide, which is, I would say, 78 to 80%, even 19 to 25 young men we are losing every single day as we are speaking, every single minute. So we don't know. The alarming or the warning sign is that we are literally losing our next generation. That's what we want to, I want to talk about today. I want to touch upon that today. So every human being, especially, I would say like a 1.2 million in the sperm, and then every one of us has some sort of purpose we want to share, we want to do in this life before we go. Um, but it's when we hear news from any community, it is really devastating and also heartbreaking. And just no words to express though.
Wow, that's a big one. Suicide. So I think it's Alan, if you don't mind. Sieben, I think that's the name. I hope I have it correctly. Yes, how's life coach? From your perspective, is it the same or is it slightly different? Here's your opportunity to share.
I mean, suicide is obviously a very heavy situation, as is men that are dying from addictions. And I think both of those things stem from having a society that generally tells men from the earliest of their beings to be disconnected from their feelings and emotions. And as a result, we produce generation upon generation of men that are exactly that, disconnected from their feelings and emotions. I just concluded a 12-week men's group that I was hosting with a number of participants called Say It Out Loud. And the one common thread that I heard from the men that were in my group was that men are tired of wearing masks. They're tired of having to show up in different ways for different things in their life. And they would just like to get to a point where they can show up as their genuine, authentic selves.
Wow, that's heavy. Both of those, I think, real issues that we deal here in the Bahamas. I find it very interesting. I was having a conversation with my mom this morning about the relationship between husband and wife, just using those two roles, husband and wives. And she was talking about what a husband, all these different roles that a husband should fulfill for a wife. And one of the things that she seemed to suggest is happiness The responsibility once happened, especially a woman, I see you smiling. She found this interest belongs to man. It was the man's role or responsibility to make the wife happy. And so this morning we are having this, I'm like, no one can make you happy. And I think you just talking about the same role, we're taught, especially in a religious, from a religious perspective, that the men, they're the leaders. So somehow men are expected to have all the answers. And if a woman, right, in a lot of cases, I don't know around the world, but we have in the Bahamas a situation where single families, a lot of women, the woman is the head of the home, and they're raising sons. And so if a male grows up, and you can tell me, I want you to chime in on this once I repeat this, if it's hard for a woman to explain to a man how to be a man. You agree? Let's go right there. Do you agree with that or disagree with that? It's difficult for a woman to explain to a man how to be a man, because we're going to put this right back to some of these, the suicide issue that you mentioned, and men having to put on all these different faces. What do you think from your perspective? Is it difficult for a woman to teach a man how to be a man? Because we're talking about showing up as your authentic self. And I don't know if a woman can teach a man to be his authentic self. What do you think? What say you? Everybody seemed to be shy.
Is
Looking
it
at
is it the question for me or for Alan?
I don't want to be, you both sound both strong and courageous. I love the responses given by both of you. So both chime in. Can a
Uh,
woman, because we're talking about suicide and it's going to root back to those same issues that you mentioned, suicide and being your authentic self. Can a woman teach a man how to be a man?
Maybe let Alan go and then I will go next.
That that's a very heavy statement. Can somebody, whether it's a woman or anybody else, can somebody else teach somebody to be a man, right? And
Mhm.
I think that what men offer to other men is a potentially safe place where vulnerability can be offered in ways that they've never felt safe in doing so before. And
Mm.
I believe that when that brotherhood is established and that container is part of the meeting, then we can share very deeply. Sivam, I would love your thoughts, but I've learned that whether it's via Zoom or face to face, when you create, and I'm going to call it a container, a safe container, if you will, right? And I believe that that is established in the first 2 to 3 minutes of a meeting. And I will also say that when every person believes that they can show up without judgment, then a lot of healing can take place. So and I guess the other point that I would make, Jacqueline, is one of the things that I have observed in the younger generation, which I think is much different than my generation, is that each person in the relationship are not losing themselves as a result of being in a relationship. So what they end up with is two whole happy individuals who happen to be sharing a life together. And the overlap of those two circles is the relationship. I believe in older generations, we struggle to identify the relationship as two whole people that are sharing space. And then when we avoid that, we get into a passive aggressive sort of a situation, whether it's the man leading or the woman leading, or each one fighting to be leading.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And my thoughts, I would say um, yes and no. And the reason why I'm saying is that even you can take me as an example. I was raised by a single mother. My father passed away when I was 1.5 years old. Um, so sometimes it's very hard, but it's also you have to understand from different perspective, as Alan was saying, because when father's presence was not there, somebody has to fill in that gap, right? So the first one, mother. The second one, any male figure in the house or in the circle in the settings, right? So even though I was raised my mother, but there were uncle and other male figures they filled up, and then they were guiding in so they were helping me, right? So yes, sometimes even nowadays if you look at that single raised mothers, some families, boys are doing much better, right? But in most cases, I would say, after reading these books and findings, it's a when we as a father, even I have three children, so raising by father or male figure, it's a different from female. So they have a certain settings or ways to raise a child, and also father has a male figure has a certain settings to raise a child. So they have to be balanced though, right? We cannot say one is right, one is wrong, or we need only one side. Both we need a balance though. Yeah.
I love both responses. I do agree both play a leading role. And I think even in situations where we have mother leading, like we have in the Bahamas, it is important also to seek out other male factors or individuals who can, give that masculine aspect of things so that there could be a balance at the end of the day. So I'm gonna ask another question.
Can I?
Go right ahead. Sure, go ahead, Denver. Oh, you're there? Go right, jump right in, Denver.
Yeah. Good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. One of the things we have to put in perspective. We believe that the mothers actually bring something to the table when it comes to family and our kids. I believe they have a part to play. But the question that you ask is really important when it comes to the boys and the father. I'm sure you would agree in our country today that we have more single mothers running the home, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where the question came from, stem from
Right.
that
So
reality.
when I look at that and we have more single mothers running the home, and I look at the crime situation that is taking place in our country, one has to ask the question, what is going on in the family, in the home? So it tells me, Jackie, that the male and the manhood is missing in our home, and that can be a problem that say why we are experiencing experiencing a lot of crime in our country. I think when you talk about the male figure, there's something about the presence of the what a man brings to that young boy. I know when back in the days, if you was to tell the wife or something, and she was to tell the young boy, "I'm gonna tell your daddy," he automatically buckle up, he automatically fly right. So there's something about the male presence in the family. When you take away the male presence out of the family, then the family gonna nine to 10 times is gonna collapse. So I think we bring that authority. I think we bring that respect. I think we bring what that young boy needs as far as growing up, as far as training him to become a man. So if you take away that manhood, then we're gonna have problems. But I believe if the man is in the family, I think everything is gonna bring right. He brings such a stability in the family. So I would say kudos to the woman, but I don't really think a woman can really raise a boy to become a man. That's a job for the man. My question is, how does she know to be a man? So she brings something to the table, but it takes a man to raise a boy.
Right. Understand your contribution. I see Professor Dawn Major. I'm going to let you now chime in. I think one of the guests was saying, so thank you so much, Denver. Appreciate that perspective. And I think that's why when he was sharing his own experience, he was saying his mom, he was in a home with a mother. However, the mother sought other male influences. She understood, she had the kind of wisdom to understand and appreciate that you do need that male injection. A woman in isolation would not be ideal. She definitely needs the contributions because there are things that are male related that a boy needs from a man. Thank you so very much. I do respect and appreciate that. Professor Major, I haven't seen you for a long period of time. You must have been traveling like I was, but welcome to the show. Let's hear your question.
Thank you, Sister Jackie. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I want to respond to your direct question.
Go right ahead.
With the greatest of respect, I am not going to be politically correct. I've had a diverse career. I've taught English. I've taught English in the high schools and college level, and I've taught communication at the college level. And there are some principles that are very important there. If you remember in high school, we had a subject we called précis writing. It had to do with condensing compositions, getting rid of the facts, and getting to the heart of the matter.
Okay.
In business communications, we talked about eliminating the useless, the unnecessary, and going to the main principles, the main thought. And so my point is, getting rid of the facts, I'm going to say quite bluntly, a woman cannot teach a boy how to be a man. She doesn't have it. What she knows about being a man is maybe from her father or her brothers or uncles, etc. But that's from the outside looking in. She cannot give the internal apparatus to that boy because she doesn't have it. An electrician cannot teach a person how to be an architect. They don't have it. They don't have the principles. They don't have the foundation. And I believe that many of our programs around the world are fundamentally flawed because they do not operate from that foundational premise. A woman cannot give what she does not have. One of your speakers mentioned about his mother being a single mother, but she recognized that she needed the uncles and others from outside the family to make a difference. That's important. But the main point is that a woman cannot teach what she doesn't have. Unless we begin with that premise, then we don't have what it takes to get the auxiliary material, that is, the uncles and the men around the community. In the old days, there was an extended family. If the father wasn't there, there was uncle, there was a grandpa, and there were brothers, etc. So they kind of made it for the shortfall in that way. But unless we understand and accept that premise, then we're going to be like treading water because we're going to be overcompensating and looking at results that may not actually impact what we want to do. And so I agree with Brother Denver when he says that we have to accept that the man brings something special to the table. Likewise, a man cannot teach a girl how to be a woman. So the reverse is also true. So your question directly attacks that particular premise? No. And so then we need to go from there and then say, then how do we deal with this question of what is wrong? And you know my experience, I taught at C.C. Sweeting and I College of Bahamas. And there I ran into the men and boys. And my experience with them, and they told me personally, teach at home is only women. My mother, my aunties, my grandmothers, and my sisters. They run the house, they run me. And when I come to school, who's the principal? A woman. Who are the teachers? Primarily women. They teach. We're tired of that. I say, in the gangs, it's different. In the gangs, the men, the boys are in charge. We get a man's perspective. That's how we learn. Men need to have a certain kind of edge that a woman cannot give them. The soft from the not so soft. And when you study parental training in magazines, they teach you as well that what the father brings to the table. For example, a mother doesn't provide the rough housing that the boy needs. If he's about to fall, the mother gets scared. Be careful, be careful, be careful. The man understands that the boy needs to feel the roughness, needs to feel the hard edge to kind of hone him, to train him, and to teach him resilience, and to teach him strength, etc. A woman cannot do that. All right? And so that's where I will leave it.
That's where you'll leave it. All right, but so I'm so happy we are on one page because we read back to Voice of Hope 360. Well, I'm not sure how many men are involved, but so maybe we can answer that question. You have a group, about how many members members are within the group? Is it a membership or it's open to all? Tell us a little bit more. Like I said, I had problems getting on, so I missed that part of maybe possibly that part of the questioning. So if you were asked that question before, please forgive me, but just to get a better perspective, about how many persons are involved with your group?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't get.
Sorry. Okay, so we were trying to get an appreciation. You're a male group. I think you said you're open to all. Any and everyone can join. In terms of your membership, but how many persons you would say are followers or members of your of Vision? What's the name of your group?
Voice of Men 360.
Yes. For how many persons? My phone closed there. Vision of
So,
Hope. For how many persons would say?
so we don't have a membership setting yet. The
Okay.
way we are functioning is we have a board, a board, and then we have a very diverse group from different ethnic groups, and of course, male, female, and also even in our, Facebook, you can see that over 5,000 members, followers. And
Followers. Okay.
in the last 5, 6 years, because this end of August is going to be 6 years, actually. So it's more than
Congratulations.
6 years. And the thing is that maybe we had to go back to one point is that when we have a conversation with the reason why we have a diverse, or I believe, uh, even when we have any situations, either males or female situations, that we cannot just simply, if we are men's mental health or men's issues, we cannot just have a men and then talk about men's issues though. So we need to have both genders. Nowadays, a lot of different genders, but in the at the table we should have, let's say, stick with the two genders. So we should have both genders though, because the thing is, like, when we talk about in the old days, or in the last, I would say, a couple of centuries, okay, women, they didn't get their freedom, or this and that. So men fought, of course, and then men, they raised voices, and then they fought for their freedom too. So it's not only one gender can simply discuss about one gender's issue. So both genders, because in the
Okay.
system, a family system, or even in the community, it doesn't matter whether we're going to get married or a single person, mother, father, sister. So anyone you name in the relationship, we should have both genders in the discussion. So that's why we want to have. We have both genders in the board, and also even in our talk show, because the thing is, like, when we are creating uh, awareness about men's issues, so we need to go back to the family setting, and anything we talk about, there are many genders involved, so you have to go back and then say, you know what, where this program, the problem started, issue started. So uh, it's at the root of the cause is, like, you cannot simply say, you know what, oh, men. Of course, when we have a men's meeting, peer support meeting, only men involved. It's run by men, for men, right? But in the actual discussion, we should have both genders, so we can have an open discussion and then see, you know what, hey, what's the problem, what's going on in this side, or this side, and then how we can come to the mutual understanding, and then how we can work it out. Otherwise, there's no point of raising one gender, um, and then not keeping equal rights or equal balance, right? So the thing is, like, we should have both genders at the table for the discussion, though. Any kind of discussion, especially nowadays, what we are talking about, though.
That's a comprehensive approach. I'm going to open it up in the interest of time. Time goes so quickly. Before I move on to my next question, I want to give anyone in the room, maybe on Facebook, an opportunity to ask questions. I'm trying to look in our chat. CC, any questions that we might have?
Yes, can I make
Go
a
right
comment?
ahead.
Yes, good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good. Can you hear me good?
We can hear you loud and clear. I'm getting ready for this question. Go ahead.
Well, it's not a question. I was listening to the discussion so far. I listened to Professor Dawn Major. And while I agree with some issues, because I've worked in youth work and youth advocacy in my younger years,
Okay.
and but I realized something when you unequivocally make a statement that women cannot teach men to be boys, or men cannot teach girls to be women. I don't think that is totally correct, because what is necessary is mentorship for both boys and for girls in order to them to go to womanhood or manhood. So the mentoring make it stick, because while the woman can only tell a boy something, she can't have him see it in her. And that is what is important. Because think about it, we go to doctors who don't have children, but they tell us about how to take care of our children. We go to therapists that are not married, and we ask them to give us counseling. So we can't say because a person is not married, they can't tell you anything about your marriage, or because if they don't have children, they can't tell you anything about children. What is necessary and what a woman does with a boy is she have to teach him what a woman needs. And a man will do the same with his girl. Teach her what a man needs. When they do that, they give the perspective for those, the child, boy or girl, what to do when they grow up and when they're in these relationships. So it is very important. And I agree with the guest speaker that we need both genders in the relationship when we are going to grow up children. Children is defeated to some degree, and what I would say is deficient when they don't have a man in their life, or they don't have a woman in their life, a mother or a father. Let's not say man, let's not say woman, let's say a father. A boy need a father, and a girl needs a father. So does a boy need a mother, and a girl needs a father. This is important to grow up children who are equally, what you call it, satisfied
Balance.
socially and balanced. Thank you very much for that word. So that is important. So we can't be unequivocal when we think that it can't be done. So I know I'm rubbing the feathers of Dr. Major, but it's very important that we can provide what we have to the other person for them to grow up. And the society will be better if we had balanced homes rather than homes just led by women, where fathers would have abandoned or whatever situation. So men, let me say this last part. When we look at all these single homes, it means that is a man has abandoned his children. So let's not just say the crime is in a situation because women are bringing up children by themselves, but men have abandoned a child. That's why we're in the situation we are in. So we call men to come back to the table of parenting, of fathering, and do the work that they will have to do. They won't have a problem of mental health if they do not relinquish the responsibility of fatherhood. That's my 2 cents.
That's your 2 cents. I'm going to give it back to, I see you raising your hand. Back over to you, Voices of Men. That's more than a mouthful. Go right ahead.
Couple of things that I think I'm not an expert. Again, I just came to this, industry or this total concept, men's issues and everything. When I was listening to Dr. Jerome's back in 2018, just a few seconds, what I was thinking, men's really do we have issues? So even before that, I never thought about it. I never pay attention to that. So in the recent years, we just heard over and over again, mental health, this and that. But there are a couple of things that we are missing, I believe, is that when we talk about, we cannot blame each other. Oh, you know what, because it's mother's mistake or problem or father's mistake or things like that. Because when we talk about both parents, we are talking about positive role models. You can simply go and out there and then look at the data and look at some of the closest family members or relatives. They are negative males, negative females. So that's what we are talking about. But you have to understand this society, the community, what we are talking about, the global community has everyone. Like, in the corner, there are people from addiction and different issues, mental health issues, right? So when we talk about either male or female, doesn't matter. They had to give space to learn other. Let's say, for example, if there's no father figure in the house, that mother has to give some sort of space, allow the child to get some sort of knowledge or to know about masculinity and other things about male figure. So the same thing with the father. If it's a single father, then that father he cannot teach everything about woman or girl. So there are certain things. So correct me if I'm wrong, but the thing is like I wouldn't say that, what, we can blame each other and then go on and on and on and on. We had to both sit down and then we had to have an open discussion and then we had to come to certain point to we should agree and then we had to both how we can solve this issue and then how we can
Move forward.
raise a positive and healthy community, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And you're talking about moving forward. The realities on both sides. How do we move forward? So I want to get this in. We're talking about mental health. Let's go back. So
Just
thank
want
you
to
so
get a
much for the call. Hi, we have Mike
Yeah.
Morse. You want to get in
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Okay. Let me
I
allow you to
I
get
just
in
want
here.
I like where this is headed, because I think we, because of our inclination to find quick fixes to things, to find a quick fix, you have to be able to blame somebody, someone. And then we said that, if we had a man, but I'm thinking, the old African phrase that it takes a village to raise a child. And so, and this is what I experienced on the Family Islands. So even with both parents available, they may not have all that it takes to raise that child. And so, but they have the resources of the community, the resources of the village, to fill in and provide what they can't. So it's not an automatic thing. Well, we have a problem where men are abandoning their families for whatever reason. And because of that, I think, there's a coping situation where the mother has got to step in. And I think it's a breakdown and a lack of involvement by the community that, and so with that fallback position or fallback environment not there, then who steps in? The drug dealer, the other guy, the gang leader, etc. And I think, I've listened to some presentations where the boy says, well, look, the reason I'm in a gang out in the back of Carmichael Road is because, of the way they treat me. And so, okay, he's not recognizing that the way they treat him and is satisfying some feeling of belonging, but they're sending him out to rob people, to sell drugs, etc. So, I think I believe that it's a collapse of the community mechanisms that should be there to step in and to assist, because you could have both parents in a house and you still have rebellious children. And if they're trying to handle it on their own and they're failing, the community, outreach or whatever should be there to step in and to guide that child, in the right path where he should go. And so I think we need to look at this holistically as opposed to a kind of a one size fit all approach.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that contribution. In the interest of time, we only got 6, and I have to get this question in because I think it's so vitally important. So we're talking about relationship. And a lot of times we're very external when we look at relationship. We're talking about relationship with others. I think one of the areas, and especially when we go right back to men and mental health, is teaching one to have a relationship with himself and herself. Talk a little bit about that, because we always talk about teaching a man how to take care of a woman when a man doesn't even know how to take care of himself, doesn't know how to love himself. So I want you, the professionals, talk a little bit about that, having a relationship with oneself, because when you are healthy, then you bring a healthy self to that relationship.
Jacqueline, I could not agree with you more. It's also interesting. I ask every man a version of that question in my initial dialogue in terms of whether or not we have good chemistry to work together as me as their coach. And I will tell you that I consistently hear men say things like, I have a wonderful relationship with my partner, with my spouse. I have a great relationship with my children. When I ask, do you love yourself? I typically hear that's a complicated question, right? It should not be complicated, but it is. And largely in part, it's complicated because throughout most of our lives, we've either created or had other parts instilled from us from other biases and other influences, right? So one of the slides that I often present when I'm talking to this point is a person, both male and female, have to get to a point where they love all of their parts, right? And that could be a challenging perspective, especially if those parts were formed to protect the limiting beliefs at one time that were protecting us that now are hindering our lives because we're making decisions against the limiting belief that was once a protection. So I think it's a very complicated sort of answer, but as a general statement, I would agree that a lot of people find it very challenging to answer the question, yes, I love myself. And the challenge is that we tend to use an external love to try to fill that. And then what we end up with is a void or a hollowness for that love because it's not internal.
Hey, you hit it. I'd like to hear your perspective. I love that response. Thank you so very much. I see you, Dave. Let me just hear the response and then over to you, Dave. I want to hear your contribution.
You ask me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
All right.
Sorry, I thought you was about to comment.
Okay. No, I was saying, I was thinking because if you ask me or if you ask any man in this screen now, the real answer is no. Because the thing is like, if you go back, that's the way we raised. That's the way we grew up. Nobody knows, even women. Okay, you know what, man, or you know what, a father or uncle, or you know what, okay, you know what, they can take care of themselves. They don't need our help or support or things like that. So it is very hard because we don't know how to verbalize our emotional challenges, feelings, and everything. So it's not like what in the last 10 years, 20 years we are talking about. No, we just started last probably in the last 5, 10 years. So century and century and centuries, we have been taught that's the way the system, that's the way the community, society, everything across the board. Any community you take, any ethnic group you take, it's the same thing. So that's the way we taught. We want to protect, we want to provide, and security or anything. We don't care. We don't think about ourselves at all. Even if you ask me now, to your point, the real answer is no, because yes, nowadays we are talking about self-awareness and this and that, mental health, and yes, And now we are realizing, okay, you know what happened to our fathers? What happened to their fathers? And how did they grow up? What kind of situation they were in, right? Still a lot of people, they are not ready to give up, ready to forgive. So how about my son? How about my son's sons? So it's a lot of complications there. But the
Yeah.
thing is that we need to step up, and then we have to. That's why I give the title today is that men, we need you, because a lot of men, they want to isolate
Yes.
themselves, or they want to detach from the society, the community, because at one point, you know what, it's over. I cannot handle anymore. It's too much for me, right? I was providing, have been providing or helping or supporting my family and other communities and this and that. I cannot take it anymore because pressure after pressure after pressure, right? So that's why, um, yes, of course, there are is still hope. We had to step up. It doesn't matter male or female, but whatever, however we can, we need you. So we cannot, we don't want to lose you. We don't want to see them losing.
Sivan,
Yeah.
just give me 1 minute. I have to sign off the radio, but we'll continue on the Zoom, the Facebook, and the YouTube.
Yeah.
You've been listening to this program, Transforming Lives, on Global 99.5, Cable TV 974, Facebook, and YouTube. I want to remind you, I will be his guest Sunday the 20th at 7 p.m. You can WhatsApp me at 433-6917. I will send you the link. But I just want to thank you. I want to thank all of you who tune in, those on the radio, those cable TV. You can join us by Zoom, YouTube, and also on Facebook for the next 15 minutes. Dave Williams on the program Transforming Lives on behalf of my host, Jacqueline Gardner, Professor Don Major. We're encouraging you to be here every Sunday, Transforming Lives, 4 to 5. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, we're off the radio officially, so we can continue the conversation for another 15 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, David. So that's what I was saying. It's very hard when yeah, even when they come to our program podcast and then speak about that. You know what? We don't know. We just started. Oh, you know what? We have this and that problem is going on. So that's why I just came up with that name, Open Up, because men, to be honest, we don't know. If you ask me, do I know how to cry? I don't. I can't, right? Because we
Wow.
don't normally cry.
That's
We
deep.
don't show, right? Maybe nowadays I see at the movie theater, or when we see movies, or maybe in the funeral home, our close ones. But other than that, where do you see even our fathers? Even they, if they want to cry, even they go to washroom and then open the tap, and then let the water run, and then they can cry in the washroom, but not in the public, or in the front of child face, right? So it's a very, very complicated area, sensitive area, that men is still there. We don't know how to verbalize our emotional challenges, right? So we are just starting to see, what we want to speak. It is okay to speak out. Yeah.
So, Stephen,
That's
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
go
Jacqueline, go
right
ahead.
ahead. No, I want to hear your response to that also in
Yeah,
terms of
no,
the emotions of
I,
the
I agree with that, but what we're talking about really is how do we begin to enable some changes in culture so that men can begin to embrace some level of emotional literacy? And that's really what we're speaking about, right? And so, Stephen, I will
absolutely.
tell you that I have worked with men in a weekend, just one weekend with 24 men, and guarantee you that I've been able to teach them so much awareness about how to embrace their feelings. Because I would say this, when I ask most men, why don't you allow yourself to cry? They say things like, I don't want to cry like a child. I don't want to cry like a boy. My next question is
Like a girl.
typically, right. So
Like
my
a
next
girl.
question is, when was the last time you cried like a man? Right? That stops a man right in his tracks. What do you mean cry like a man? I mean, get down on your knees and let yourself feel the emotion and let it come out of you. Let it come out of you. But the problem is we have so much judgment and contentment around that, that to get into that level of vulnerability with others when you're questioning if they're able to receive you in that manner is incredibly intimidating. And therefore lies the problem. We need to expose the environments of which people can begin to get healthy and embrace their feelings and emotions.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's go ahead.
Can I add something quickly? I absolutely agree with Alan, and that's why we are having this conversation, and then we want to break the cycle, we want to break the stigma as much as possible. But if you are ask me the real question, oh, you know what, which community you are from, and then is there any changes in the community? If you ask them, okay, you know what, hey, there's a International Men's Day, and then somebody may laugh or laugh to people who ever asked why we need a separate day. We already have a Women's Day, this day, that day. So why do you need any other special day for men? So, but the other thing is that as a man, the real question is that the real challenge is that as a man, do we really accept when we talk about men's mental health? So a lot of men, they are not ready to talk about it. So we want to really break the cycle. So that's the way, okay, you know what, if we can break the cycle now, or if we can start to break the cycle now, at least the next generation or the younger ones, they can openly talk about because nowadays the celebrities and other young generation, they are talking more and more. So we need that. Yeah. Thank you.
There ought to be a starting place, and I think this is an excellent conversation. I love what I heard here. Professor Dawn, you're saying something?
Yes, exactly. As a follow-up, I'll share something with you. I have been doing this since 2000, researching and studying and working and teaching. But I ran men's groups for about 9-10 years, starting about 2000.
One second, Brother Dave. Dr. Dave, I think we can hear you. You might. Okay, great. Go right ahead. Go ahead, Professor.
Okay. I ran men's ministry groups at my church, I think from 2007 to 2011, and then again from 2014 to 2017. And we had some experience dealing with the vulnerabilities of men. I saw men breaking down and crying in the men's group to each other. But that only happened after we built up trust among ourselves. One of our rules was we could not share what took place in the meeting with our wives and women, unless it was general principles. That was because a lot of things that took place there was very personal and made you feel very vulnerable. You were sharing things that you didn't even share with the women in your lives. After a while, at different points in times during we operated sometimes like Alcoholics Anonymous, where people give individual testimonies. And without it being coordinated, the majority of the men said to me, I've learned not to cry in the presence of my wife anymore. And I said, tell us why. They said, because one, the attitudes changed toward them. Men are supposed to be strong. They're not supposed to show weakness. It would seem that the women began to experience their man crying as being weakness. Not only that, they said that in times of conflict or argument, the wives would actually throw it back in their faces. Well, go ahead and cry. Or you want to cry again? And so for them, their vulnerability, their trust in their mate had been betrayed. So they felt that unless you go back to what the gentleman, what he said, not Alan, the one before him said earlier, we have to create a society where this vulnerability is not taken advantage of, and where it's seen as communication that benefits all, not as one where there is a power dynamic involved. And so the men, they began to pull back, and so they said, I've learned that it doesn't make sense for me to show even that kind of tender moment because I'm afraid it'll be used against me. And that didn't happen just once or twice; it happened a number of times. And so my response and my fellow experts was, well, listen, maybe they weren't just were not ready for it at the time. Times may have changed, and it goes forward. But the reality is that the vulnerabilities of men, when expressed, often seem to be considered as weaknesses by the women in their lives. Until that changes, you're not going to find many men being vulnerable or sharing that side of them. Now, they're learning now to share it among each other when there is a kind of close-knit society where they can trust each other to keep that and to offer counsel and advice as to how to handle certain kinds of things. All right, a group dynamic that's involved there. But unless that we have that change among women where they appreciate the vulnerability as an openness that helps to understand your mate as opposed to something that you can take advantage of when conflict comes, they can have difficulties until that changes.
I love that. I think I saw some comment and I thought I share those views that I think there need to be open communication between the family. So when we're talking about male and female now, that's even from a family perspective, vulnerabilities and respect for the vulnerabilities of both sexes. So that's the only way it could work from both perspectives, because there are some women, even in terms of their emotions, and I'm a woman, and I'm not afraid to say that. There's some women go to the extreme with their emotion, which is abusive also. They take all of their emotions and place it with, on the man, and then he has difficulties even identifying his emotions. So you have difficulty identifying your own personal emotion plus the overload of a woman's emotion. And so you have that imbalance. So I think from a family perspective, I love this organization. I love the work. Just based on what I'm hearing. I'm hoping that you can come back again, because I really want an open, air once again on the airwaves, that this discussion becomes a reality, because I think it's a very pertinent discussion, one that we really, really need in society. So I'm going to let you, in the interest of time, I'm going to let you both of you give your closing thoughts. And I want to thank you on behalf of Transforming Lives.
Alan, go ahead.
I would just simply say it's a pleasure to participate in these kind of conversations. Sivam, I will follow up with you. I'd love to be a guest on your show as well. Jacqueline, I will keep coming back to this show as well. And I think that the way we change culture is by having more of these conversations.
Yes.
Visibility brings awareness, and it's easier
Yes.
to then, I agree with everything that Professor Don said, but one of the things I think is very challenging is people struggle to have intimate conversations with the people they're trying to be intimate with. And I think we can have an entire show dedicated to that theme alone.
Yes. Ooh, that's another one. That's a thought. I love that. Thank you for dropping that in our spirit.
I would say, any topic, any area you take it, it's we cannot simply finish it within 1 day or 1 hour.
No.
It's very hard. There are a lot of things to add. At the same time, I just want to mention everybody here. I really appreciate everyone's views, and even some of you guys did not participate, but you have a different thoughts. I would say nobody is right or nobody is wrong. It's your opinion, it's my opinion, it's the way we brought up, the way we learn, the way we experience in our society, right? Everybody has a different. That's the way the universe is. That's the way the society is. So that is totally fine. The interesting, very uplifting thing was happened in my life is that when we started doing this show in my Tamil language, and then when even the guests, even the listeners, they started to say, you know what, hey, I never thought about this. So from now on, as a mother, as a lover, as a father, as a brother, as a husband, as a grandfather, we started to look from different point of view, different perspective, right? So that's the change that we want to make. Everything, when especially let's say some of the teachers, professors, they when they come to our podcast, and then after the show, they discuss a lot of areas, and then after the show, they say, you know what, I never thought about it because we were talking about women issues so far, and then we were talking about, of course, it's still women is not fully solved, or they is still some part of the women, they are struggling, they are going through a lot of challenges, of course. But at the same time, we had to look at other side because there's a big gap. So we had to fulfill that. And we had to have an open discussion about that. That's the way we are creating awareness. We are changing basically the name of the show, Transforming Lives. So it's creating awareness. Without awareness, we cannot do anything, right? So David and Jacqueline and everybody else, thank you guys. I really appreciate that for your feedback. And at the same time, you are always welcome to our show. Open up and then having your voice heard, because you never know. It can be one word, or it can be one line, or it can be the whole conversation, your life journey. Somebody else somewhere is watching and then listening. It can change. We never know. We never know. We don't need to know.
Thank you so very
Thank you.
much. It's been our pleasure, Jackie Gardner from Transforming Lives, Dr. Dave Williams. Special thanks to our guests. See you soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.
Well, we thank everybody for tuning in. Encouraging to have a wonderful Sunday afternoon.